Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this event on the present and future of AI in negotiation. I have the pleasure to have with me Shane Martin and Marty Rand, and I will ask him to introduce themselves in a moment. But first of all, I want to give a warm welcome to our attendees, to the many people that are joining us live, and also to the many others that will be watching the recording of this event, because via the same link, you will be able to watch the recording. So this is something, that's the way we run our events, and we do have regular communication around the world of negotiation and influencing. But let's have a look for a moment before I ask Shane and Martin to introduce themselves. Let's have a look at our audience. Do we have an international audience with us? Yes, let's see. We have somebody from the UK, from Ghana, from Sweden, Nigeria, Spain. Tell us where you're coming from, UK and Italy. Yes, we want to hear where you're coming from. So tell us some more. India. All right. Kenya. Wow. Very good. Hello, Olga. India again. Fantastic. Switzerland. Okay, great to have so many people that are joining us from all over the world. So delighted to share some more with you during the next 30, 45 minutes together. Okay, now we have America, we have Asia, we have Africa, we have Europe. Are we going to get somebody from Australia, from Oceania? Let's find out if we get somebody from Oceania. But in the meantime, let's get to know a bit more our speaker. Shane, why don't you say a few words about yourself so that we can introduce you to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, good evening, wherever you're listening from. It's such a pleasure to be with you, Giuseppe, and thanks for organizing this. And Martin, it's so fantastic to see you as well. I feel like now hearing from everyone in the audience where they're from, I want to hear more about them rather than share about me. It's incredible audience, incredible. So such a pleasure to be with everyone. If we haven't met, my name is Shane Ray Martin. I'm the co-founder of Deal Talk, which is a podcast on negotiation. And also, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mediation Table. We're cutting mediations from months to minutes using AI. And so those are a couple of things that I'm working on. I'm Washington, D.C. based and excited to talk about AI, which seems like it's changing every single day. So it's going to be an interesting conversation today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Shane. Martin.
Yeah, I also want to say, hey, Giuseppe, thanks for organizing this. And it's good to see you again, Shane, as we have met several times throughout the years. My background is that I used to be a product manager at Skype. I then set up my first startup, ended up selling it to Monsanto, and became a commercial lead for Monsanto's Climate Corporation, where, among other things, I had to negotiate deals. And that's where I learned about the wonderful world of negotiations, became a huge fan, went through Harvard's negotiation training. I'm contributing to Forbes on negotiations and leadership, and then ended up co-founding Pactum AI, where we use AI to automate negotiations for the world's largest enterprises.
Fantastic, Martin. By the way, many may know me, but my name is Giuseppe. I am a professor in negotiation and influence, but a practitioner as well, because I've been working for over 25 years with a leading multinational across the globe. Fantastic. Let's get started. And how about if we start with you, Shane? By the way, just before I start with my first question, remember this is your LinkedIn Live. So if you have any question, if what's our guests are saying is sparkling some ideas or some question, do ask your question. We will have moments to address your own question, but I do have prepared a few also for our speaker. Maybe Shane, we want to make this LinkedIn Live as practical and actionable as possible. We know that ChatGPT has over 100 million users. What are 3 actionable ways salespeople, procurement professional, other company leaders can harness the power of ChatGPT and AI to gain a competitive advantage in their daily negotiations?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, there's so many ways that you can use ChatGPT in your negotiations. The challenge is, I don't think many people are actually doing it. So, if you want to try to use ChatGPT, let's say in your next salary negotiation or your negotiation with a supplier, maybe there are three things that I recommend you do. Now, I want to focus on the thing though that most people skip in their negotiations that can actually have the biggest impact on your success. And all of you are interested in negotiation. You're here today to learn about how to use AI in your negotiations. So you already know probably how to negotiate, but how can you take it to the next level? And the way that you can practically take it to the next level is to prepare ahead of time, because a lot of negotiations are won or lost before they even begin. So I want to focus on that preparation sort of aspect of negotiation. And if you're using ChatGPT to prepare, there are three things. One thing that I've personally used in the trenches negotiating, trying to close deals, is I ask it to create a powerful list of questions that are maybe open-ended, close-ended, and I'll give ChatGPT like a specific prompt in order to give me some really great questions. And that way you have some variety going into your negotiation. And Martin, just have you guys know this, and you as a listener know this, the more information that you have in a negotiation, the more leverage or the more power you may be actually, or influence, like you said, Giuseppe, you'll have. So if you use ChatGPT to come up with some cool, powerful, open-ended questions, that's like a really practical, easy way to do it ASAP. Maybe you've already done that. And so the second thing you can do is use ChatGPT to create positions, create arguments, ask it for phrases of things you can say to strengthen your positions. And once you know what you want out of the negotiation, you can really leverage ChatGPT in a powerful way to craft persuasive arguments beyond maybe what you could do without ChatGPT. So that's the second thing, is create positions, create arguments. And then the third thing, maybe the most important, is how do you overcome objections? How do you dance around the no that a supplier or a salesperson or a procurement person says? What can you say when they say, no, we have no budget? These are things you can get answers from ChatGPT, and I'm sure many of you have already tried this. But the more ChatGPT is one of those things, kind of like in life, the better the input you put in, the better the output you're going to get. So the more specific your prompt, the more powerful your output will be. So those are three things. Use it to create some great questions to get some information. Use it to create some positions and arguments and persuasive phrases. And then use it to anticipate objections. How are you going to navigate around a no?
Fantastic. That's three very concrete things. By the way, you also mentioned a critical topic, the prompt. What will be your advice to make good prompt? Did you find good training? Did you learn it with practice? Is there a PDF documents that may work? I mean, what will be a good way for making good prompts, better prompts in ChatGPT?
Yeah, you're so kind for asking. I feel like you're teeing me up for a home run, Giuseppe. You're very nice. You're very generous. So when ChatGPT really exploded in November, let me back up. So AI has been around for a long time. Martin and the Pactum team started working on their project years and years ago. It wasn't until November 30th, where this past year, that really ChatGPT kind of exploded on the scene because of OpenAI and a couple other forces. So initially, there wasn't really any answers to like prompts and what to put into ChatGPT. So I locked myself in a dark room and just wrote 100 of them myself. And so instead of trying to create ones, find people who already have them and who have published them and who are willing to share them with the world. And so I have a PDF that you can download that's free on my profile on LinkedIn that you can get, especially if you're a salesperson. It's really focused for salespeople, but it's good for procurement people too.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. By the way, do connect with our guests today, take this opportunity, to continue to learn through their LinkedIn communication. By the way, let's move for a moment to one specific area where we have the master here, Martin. I mean, autonomous negotiation. I mean, Can you share an example of how autonomous negotiation are helping companies, and specifically how Pactum is doing that?
Yeah. So two examples, perhaps. We have two very large customers. One is Walmart, one is Maersk. We're conducting autonomous negotiations for both of them. And in the Maersk use case, this is very interesting. So Maersk is the second largest shipper in the world, but they don't own almost any trucks. So if you see a Maersk container moving, that's probably a truck that a service that they have to buy in. And so we do those negotiations for trucking. It's a highly fragmented market. Some of these truckers only have a few trucks, and the way these trucking spot rate negotiations are done is just a lot of phone calls, a lot of very short phone calls. And usually how it ends up happening is that the operator picks up the phone, calls the first trucker, asks for the price, calls the second trucker, second maybe didn't pick up, and the third one, the price was bad, so they go with the first one. Now, if you think about it, an AI system will do it differently. An AI system will go through all of the underlying information first. We'll go through all of the data regarding similar lanes, similar truckers, all of the commodity price indices that are influencing this move, like, for instance, fuel prices. And it won't ask for a price. It'll anchor on a price right away because it is conducting thousands of those negotiations. So it's constantly calibrating the price. It knows what the price is. And it reaches out to a trucker, and the trucker might say, no, this price doesn't work for me. Well, then it can go into a negotiation. It can say, hey, how about let's talk about a 6-month exclusivity for this lane. Or hey, if you agree this one and if you agree the next one as well, we can give you a better deal flow. So maybe you can get the next offer before everyone else. So even in these seemingly transactional negotiations, where it seems that is there really something to negotiate, there's actually a lot to negotiate, except people don't have time. People don't have time to prepare. People don't have time to spend on these negotiations. And that's why it's a perfect use case for a machine.
Yeah. By the way, there is one element which I like, right? People tend to think that autonomous negotiation is only a fight on price. 20, 17, 19.8, 17.3, whatever. While the example that you gave is that the Pactum already can think about, what other element of value can I bring into the negotiation? How can we close a deal to make sure that we are both happy and is not a monodimensional discussion about price or payment terms or whatever. So there may be more things that you may come into the game, right?
Yeah, so that's bargaining. So every negotiation person probably knows that methods like bargaining or auctions are mostly zero-sum game. So if you win, then I lose. Whereas in a negotiation, I'm incentivized to give you something which you value, so you would give me back something that I value. And we can both walk out of this room with more than we had previously. The pie is expanded, more value is created than was there before. And this should be the goal of every negotiator and every system that is negotiating.
Fantastic. Thank you. And by the way, Martin, we looked at the nice side, and how about, some of the blockers, for implementing autonomous negotiation? What kind of challenges are you facing?
Well, it's not suitable everywhere. So it is mainly suitable in places with a lot of fragmentation. So a lot of suppliers, thousands of suppliers. or a lot of data, or fast-moving data, or incremental deals where you have to negotiate product prices and maybe renegotiate them every month or every quarter. So their autonomous negotiations are perfect. Where they are not perfect are, for instance, big, very strategic one-off negotiations where it makes sense to think outside the box. Use your charisma to influence the other side. Maybe go golfing somewhere. So this is what AI cannot do. Also, some of our customers have asked, hey, we're building a factory or we're buying a ship. Can you please negotiate that? And we're saying, no, that's one-off. It doesn't a system. It takes too much effort to set up a system for one-off negotiation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Now, just a quick comment of process. We have already some question in the audience, so that's we are going to look at them in a moment. Just I want to tell you that this is the second of a series of event on AI and negotiation. So delighted that you are with us today, and I want you to be aware that there is another event coming up on the 5th of September at 6 o'clock European time, so which is noon at New York time, and we will look at a global study that was done about the use of ChatGPT, and you may get some more insights. So you can sign up to this event through the link that you find right now in the chat. So do take the opportunity to sign up so that you can continue the learning journey. Now, rather than continuing with my own question, I would like to take a moment to take some of the questions. Now, there are so many comments that are coming our way that is, let's say, okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Let's take the first one. It would be good to hear how AI can be used for negotiation in the healthcare sector, industry, and health agency. Now, maybe that's a bit specific. Not sure.
I can comment. I can comment a bit.
Yeah.
So healthcare is an extremely regulated area. And that is very good for machines, because once you teach a machine about regulation, it will follow that perfectly. Whereas if you have a team of negotiators that are supposed to also negotiate smaller deals, non-strategic deals, it's very complicated because there is a lot of legal risk because somebody might make a mistake. So healthcare is actually, if there is scale, then it is perfect for an AI negotiation to be set up there.
Fantastic. Now, here there is a question. Do we actually decrease quality in the long term with these negotiations? I guess it's a question for you, Martin. I think it's mainly referring to the autonomous type of negotiations.
Yeah, depends how you define quality, right? If you define, actually, it is easy to define quality in negotiations. We define quality as getting close to the Pareto optimal outcome. So what is Pareto optimality? If a deal is negotiated to be Pareto optimal, then one side cannot get a better deal without hurting the other side. So that's Pareto optimal. So in a way, this deal is maxed out. Every negotiation should end with a Pareto optimal deal. Now, the question is, will technology get more deals to Pareto optimal than people will? Yes, absolutely. But again, depends where. There has to be some sort of fragmentation. Like I said before, a lot of data, a lot of complexity, or fast changing information. This is something which people's brains aren't suitable to handle, and people don't have time. And there, the machine will find more Pareto optimal outcomes because it can take all the information. It can take 10 commodity price indices and demand data and competitive price data and take it all into account in 1,000 negotiations at a time. And yes, they will end up being more Pareto optimal.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Let's take this one. How ChatGPT can help for Batna and Batna in international business negotiation?
Yeah, I can tag on to this one, Giuseppe.
Yeah.
So this is a great one. This is about creating options. And Martin, I'm really intrigued by how to reach Pareto. How do you create options when it comes to autonomous negotiations as well? I think that's super fascinating because time and time again, if you have more options or you have a BATNA, which is just kind of a fancy term for what's your plan B if your plan A doesn't work out, then what you can use ChatGPT to answer the question is simply by asking it, here's like defining the situation, putting some constraints on the situation, and then asking what are some potential additional options that I should explore. So I have a hunch that if you ask ChatGPT, how can I negotiate a higher salary? What are some of the options that I can do to create more leverage and power for myself to get a better deal? It'll probably come back and say something like, get multiple offers in your job salary search, for example, because if you have more offers, then you can leverage them against each other and you can get a better deal. It's no different than a procurement manager who's evaluating multiple suppliers and then choosing the one that's the best fit for the organization. So that's a great question. I would say create as many BATNAs, best alternative to the negotiated agreement, you can using ChatGPT, but also there's a couple risks or warnings. Warning, I guess, is kind of a strong word, but know that whatever you put into ChatGPT or OpenAI's ChatGPT or Bard's Google, they can read. So they have access to basically everything that you say. And I had no idea until one of the head engineers at Google was talking about Bard at a peacemaking AI conference, and he was saying, "Yeah, by the way, we can see everything that goes in there." And I was like a little bit. I remember I came off mute and I was like, "Wait, can you say that one more time?" I guess I was a bit naive in the beginning of the ChatGPT sort of rage that like whatever you put in there, other people can see. So you have to be super mindful, especially Martin, what you were saying about the regulated industry, and it was a great question about healthcare. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind when you're using ChatGPT is that others can see it, but still you can use it to create options.
Yeah, I think a couple. Sorry, go Martin, go.
I would tag on to this comment a little bit. That's exactly the reason why we are not using large language models in our negotiations. And large language models are systems like ChatGPT, for instance. There are some. The great thing about them is that they are creative. This wasn't the case before with technology, but there are some downsides. The downsides is, like Shane pointed out, that data can be lost in that large language model. I think we saw some big news with Samsung, how their proprietary code was lost inside the large language model, and others could see it. Also, they can be deceived. So if using those in a negotiation, if you get a clever enough prompt writer on the other side negotiating, the large language model can very well be reprogrammed or persuaded to give you a better deal rather than the other side. So we use explainable rule-based AI models in negotiations, and that's why our customers trust it, and that's why they like it. However, we use large language models in designing negotiations and in getting ideas about negotiations.
Okay.
Yeah, and Giuseppe, can I tag on to that real quick?
Yeah.
Martin, you were talking about just like complex negotiations. I feel like a lot of people who are listening in are probably doing negotiations that require them to be present, or maybe they're a bit intricate. Do you see a world where AI is automating complex negotiations, like you said, buying a ship?
That's a good question. I don't see it currently. Eventually, it will probably come. Yeah, but just right now, we're not there yet.
When do you think we'll be there? You can tell the future, right?
Yeah, it's a complex question. Somewhere in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I wanted to add a quick point regarding the confidentiality element. I think, a simple thing to do is for company to have a confidentiality measure, to decide, what is possible, what is not, what kind of information can you put or not put into ChatGPT. Another is to have your own ChatGPT. So a ChatGPT which is tailored to your company, where you put your own data, and that this data is not spread on the other side. Now, I don't know if you're aware of any breakage of this kind of situation. In principle, let's say if you have your own ChatGPT, then the kind of things like what Samsung has experienced then should not be happening, right?
Yes, but you get to other things as well, like IP. If you use some methods for negotiations, then who do they belong to? Do they belong to OpenAI, or do they belong to? If you have a rule book on negotiations, for instance, do these rules now belong to you or them? If ChatGPT has altered them and made them better, yeah, all sorts of complexities there.
Okay. Now, I see another question for you, Martin, is I think they're more referring to the Pactum kind of system. Do the supplier know that they're negotiating with an AI? And if yes, what's their feedback? Do they prefer this interaction? That's a good one.
They do, and so I'll bring one example. In Walmart has been so amazed by what we have done there that they decided to write the Harvard Business Review article about this, and there they brought out statistics which we can now mention, that we were successful in 64% of the negotiations. We created 3% of value gain in renegotiations on average, which is a big deal in large enterprises like that. And to answer this question, 83% of the suppliers said that they liked negotiating with an AI and they would like to do it again in the future. Now, you might ask why that is. What people usually don't like automated chats. Like, people don't like automated customer support chats that don't understand what you want, right? But this one they like. And our hypothesis is that they like it exactly because it's the other side, our AI side is non-creative, and they are creative. So therefore they feel, well, of course, I have the upper hand here, and I can get what's important for me. I have time, nobody's pressurizing me. I can figure out all the options that are best from me. I am in control, and I think this is why people like it.
Yeah. Now, if I may, the negotiator in with large company like Walmart, Carrefour, Auchan, or whatever, Tesco, they don't have a reputation for being the kindest, right? They tend to be quite tough with their supplier. They may be not so maybe an AI which is looking for solution while still demanding but proposing value creating option may be a more enjoyable option compared to a hard-nosed negotiator that is only asking for price down kind of things, right?
Exactly.
That's maybe...
Quite candidly, those so we're working with a lot of very large organizations, and they have been used to focusing on large suppliers, and they have been used to thinking that, oh, we can't do anything about the small suppliers. And they are kind of thinking that sometimes when we began interactions with them, that these negotiations are just asking for a better price, like an email does. But then we say, look, you have been doing for tens of years, writing emails or having aggressive calls with them and just demanding savings. But this isn't, if you think about it, then an AI system which has unlimited time can actually spend time and find the Pareto optimal, unlocking value for the supplier as well. And therefore, the supplier will give way more value to you than would have otherwise happened with just in a bargaining situation.
Yeah, interesting. Next question is also for you, Martin. Sorry, Shane will keep you active in a moment, but let's go for one more with Martin, because our audience is curious about what Pactum can and cannot do. So will Pactum integrate generative AI into their chat system? And what's your view, Martin, on the future of this negotiation? Are they going to be bot-to-bot or AI-assisted kind of situation? Yeah, let's see.
So okay, first question. Will we integrate generative AI into the system? So we haven't done that right now. We have done that in cases where we have to interpret what people say in a public chat and then do offers for them. But this is only interpreting. This is not generating text. We can do this only in a very safe environment. For instance, after the negotiation has been concluded, we might ask, what else could have we done better? And this is open text, and this conversation we might do with generative AI in the future. Now, there is an interesting part of this question also about bot-to-bot negotiations. Indeed, bot-to-bot negotiations is an exciting future. Some of the large vendors who we have negotiated with have come back to us and said, hey, could we have a bot on our side as well? Because actually, our people are answering you algorithmically based on an Excel table. Does it make sense to automate our side as well? And we feel absolutely it does make sense to automate both sides, because then a negotiation could be kept Pareto optimal at any given time. Essentially, you can have a renegotiation at any fluctuation of a commodity price or demand, or COVID will hit and everything could be renegotiated in seconds between bots. However, all of this would probably be done with rule-based AI systems, with explainable AI systems, rather than generative AI. Yeah, I don't see a world very near yet where a massive amount of generative AI bots, which are unexplainable systems, we don't know really what's going on inside those systems, will massively renegotiate commercial deals. I don't see that right now.
Okay, interesting. Shane, you can take this one. Can we suggest that AI negotiation in IT sector, the AI negotiation in IT sector, every developer, it will help? Can we suggest it? Maybe let me see if I get the question right. Can we suggest the AI negotiation in IT sectors, every developer, it will help, IT will help? I don't know if you get it, Shine. Maybe should we ask to a clarification, or
Yeah.
you think you got it?
Maybe Martin can take this one.
No,
and somehow weave in Pactum somehow.
No, I think
I cannot
maybe.
interpret it.
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
Yeah,
Can we go to the
maybe
next one?
if you, Manvita, if you could,
maybe,
if you
maybe
explain it a
you
bit
can
more
put it
what you're
to
looking for.
ChatGPT.
Yeah,
whenever we discuss.
Okay, but let's listen to Olga instead. Hi, Olga. Does AI negotiation pattern build in a win-win way for both parties of negotiation?
I mean, it's so contextual. I would say yes, absolutely. AI can create win-wins because I've seen it many, many times, but also there can be situations where maybe Pareto isn't necessarily reached because we're humans, and let's face it, we're flawed. We make mistakes and we miss things, and that's why I think it's so interesting to hear too. And it makes sense why everyone's intrigued by specifically the generative AI and what Pactum's up to, because it literally, the future of negotiation is being written right in front of us. And that's why I was asking Martin about how long until AI, until Pactum's doing complex negotiations, because my hunch is like it's not going to be that long. I mean, AI is advancing so fast; it's almost difficult to stay up to date with all the latest sort of advances in AI. That's a full-time job in itself. So,
Yeah. By the way, I build on this one, Shane. People that want to stay updated on AI negotiation, do you have any website, or do you have any kind of things, the groups or whatever that you will suggest as good resources to stay updated what is going on?
yeah, well, the first thing I would say is connect with us on LinkedIn, because we'll post as updates happen and as interesting things and breakthroughs are happening in the space on LinkedIn. But also, there's a newsletter. Last night I was at a dinner and someone suggested a newsletter called TLDR, where they talk about really great insights into AI and all the things that are happening. Another great newsletter, if you read or listen to podcasts, is The Morning Brew. They're a great tech sort of focused newsletter, and quite popular as well. So those are a couple of resources that are free that you could check out that I subscribe to.
Fantastic. Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, how about the impact that AI will have on education? I mean, will this change? Will this change the skill of the people? Will it change the willingness of people to do the training, or will it just people will over rely on AI to do the job?
That's tough. Yeah, it's a good question. Looking into the future, I mean, ultimately, as negotiations become more automated, that those soft skills arguably are going to actually be more important, because we're humans, and relationship building ultimately and trust building. These are things that I don't see going away, but I also do see like the hype of autonomous negotiations becoming bigger and bigger. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. I think it depends on the situation, the job that you're in. Are you in healthcare? Are you in HR? It's going to fluctuate depending on what you're doing. But it is interesting to see this shift right now of jobs. I think there's something that's not being talked a lot about as it relates to jobs being adjusted and displaced. Are developers still going to be needed to write code because AI is already writing code, for example? There's so many different things that we are going to see unravel, I feel like, in the last 5 years. And then the final thing I just thought of as well is, how is AI going to be regulated? We've already seen the Meta, OpenAI, Google. They're all the CEOs are making trips to DC to meet with policymakers. And like, what are those conversations sounding like? Like, how will AI be restricted as it relates to negotiations? These things are all being written literally right now in the United States and also abroad in the EU. I feel like the EU might be a little bit more far along the journey than the US is as it relates to policy around AI. But we'll see how that catches up. And then the final thing I just thought of as well is, there was a really, really interesting experiment by an Israeli general, and they had a war room. They simulated a war room sort of negotiation conversation within their own army. And they had one room, it was an experiment. They had one room run a scenario without ChatGPT, and they had one war room run with ChatGPT. So one without, one with. And then they measured the results, and it wasn't even close. The general reported out that the war room, when it came to the negotiations and the hard decisions, even though it was complex, performed better with ChatGPT without it. So that should be really telling.
Oh, so would ChatGPT perform better in such a complex environment?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's amazing. To maybe put some comments about this question here, I think there are some good sides also where AI will bring value for people negotiating. If you think about it, if a single entity like Pactum negotiates thousands and thousands of deals, every negotiation is an A/B test. So for every tactic, every way of wording a sentence, every anchor, every multiple equivalent offer, we can understand what works and what doesn't. And this information can be fed back to people negotiating and using those tactics, because so far for negotiation scientists, it's not easy because they have to usually do these tests on their students, because it's very hard to get a massive amount of negotiations data.
Yeah. So you say with all this data, you can continue to improve the way the things work. You can also start writing the negotiation theory and
Yes,
saying, okay,
also improve.
if that was your goal, you may start generating a number of research and saying, okay, if I formulate that, in positive words or in negative terms, or if I make an anchor which is 5%, 3%, or 2%, whatever that makes was most of an impact, what is the difference in an impact, and those kind of things, right? That's maybe also a way to start also helping developing the negotiation theory with all this data.
Absolutely.
I think, as a negotiator, my word on this one is, if you're extremely good with data, then maybe you may be in trouble, because AI may do it better than you. If your strength is in the soft skills, then there may be an opportunity for you to continue to do your negotiation job and to bring added value into how do we do things. Yeah. Our time is running up, and again, my apologies if we were not able to cover all the questions. There were just so many that we couldn't cover them all. To close, Shane, it's a controversial topic, but OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT and DeepMind, a company owned by Google, they all have expressed concern about potential AI leading to the extinction of humanity. Now, but then on the other side, the people at Meta, they tend to be more, they argue that this is exaggerated. So, do we believe the people at OpenAI and DeepMind? Do we believe the people at Meta? I mean, do you believe that AI will lead to the extinction of human race? And what are the primary risks which AI in the present time has for daily users?
Will it lead to the extinction of the human race? I'm an optimist by nature, so I would say no, but also add that right now there's a lot of debate about the long-term risks of AI. And so we can't discount that as well. But Martin and many, many others who are working on AI every day, generally they're working on it because they're excited, they're hopeful for the opportunities of what AI can bring to negotiations, but also all other sort of sectors. So it's tough. I mean, you even think about how AI beat the grand world champion in chess. And if I read the story right, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but AI beat the world champion in chess, and the world champion, the man who lost to AI, had to call like a 15-minute timeout because he had never seen the move that the AI made. So when I see and hear stories and learn more about AI, I'm optimistic about the future of AI and how it relates to all the things that people have been wonderfully saying in the chat today. But I'm also cognizant that there are dangers if we don't build it responsibly. Then I feel like there will be severe consequences. And the good news is that countries all over the world, governments and businesses, are working on it. But the question is how will they use it?
Yeah. And let's face it, our track record of collaboration between, I don't know, US, Russia, and China, or between Google and Microsoft, or whatever, it has not always been very good, right? So let's see how we can make it happen. And Martin, I heard, in your comments and in your tone, some concern with generative AI. What are your views on this one?
So one of our investors, Jan Tallinn, is one of the most renowned experts in existential threats on AI, and he has invested his life basically to protecting the world against these dangers. And this is one of the reasons why he invested to Pactum as well. One of the solutions to this problem is called value alignment, where we can build a system which is aligned to our values. And we are learning this value alignment every day, where we are conducting negotiations between the world's largest enterprise, like Walmart, and a mom and pop shop, right? So I would refer to these people. They are extremely smart, and they see that there could be a danger if we just keep on putting unlimited amounts of computing power and unlimited amounts of information feeding into these systems. So there should be regulation, but I also see that this regulation is not easy, because China and US and everyone has their own interests, and how can we really regulate something? How can we come to an agreement there? So what I would propose as a solution is not to create a regulatory body, but to create a science body, just as CERN is in Switzerland, right? And countries could invest there, and this body could create systems that are more aligned with human values, and perhaps even develop AI that keeps other types of AI in check.
Okay, fantastic. That will be a nice way to solve this problem and make us all more comfortable with the future related to AI. Martin, Shane, it was a fantastic event, and the number of questions that we got that we couldn't cover is a clear indication. And so thank you very much, you all, for all the questions. Again, apologies if we couldn't cover them all. If you're interested in AI and negotiation, then, of course, you want to follow Shane and Martin to see what they are doing. And you may also want to join our next event on the 5th of September, 6 o'clock Paris time, 12 o'clock New York time, and find out some more about a global study on ChatGPT and the impact that it has on global negotiation. So I want to thank you again to our speaker, to all the people that are listening to us in the recording, and look forward to reconnect with you soon. Thanks again. All the very best.